People say that the past can't hurt you unless you let it. I used to believe that. I used to think trauma was something you could outgrow, like a bad haircut or an old habit you finally learned to break. But that was before I met him, before I realized that some people don't just listen to your pain. They use it, shape it, turn it into the very chain that keeps you tied to them. He didn't ask about my past because he cared. He asked because he needed material. He needed tools. He needed a doorway into my mind. And trauma for people like him is the easiest door to walk through. The first time I opened up to him, it felt like relief. Like someone finally understood why I flinched when people raised their voice, why I froze when someone walked away mid-conversation, why silence never felt peaceful to me, only threatening. He didn't judge me. He didn't question me. He just listened. And that's how he became the safest person I had ever known. I didn't realize then that safety can be a disguise too, a beautiful mask that someone wears only long enough to step into the parts of you never let anyone reach. He memorized everything, every wound, every fear, every pattern I blamed on my past dad, and slowly, without me noticing, he began shaping himself to fit inside every empty space in my heart. He never raised his voice, never walked away, never made me feel like too much. He was patient when I broke down, gentle when I apologized for crying, soft when I whispered the things he had never told anyone. And that's how he earned my trust. But real manipulation doesn't happen loudly. It happens quietly between the moments you feel seen and the moments you feel indebted. It begins with comfort and ends with control. Because the more I shared, the more power he gained, and he knew it. He always knew it. He learned that my biggest fear was people leaving without warning, so he never left. Not at first. He stayed closer than anyone ever had. Closer than comfort, closer than love, close enough to make me dependent. He learned that I hated conflict, so he stayed calm during arguments, speaking softly until I felt guilty for raising my voice. He learned that I blamed myself for past mistakes, so he made sure I apologized for Steven when he was the one who hurt me. He learned that silence scared me, so whenever he wanted something, he would grow quiet. Just quiet enough for my chest to tighten and my mind to panic. And then, when he spoke again, I would agree to anything just to feel safe again. I didn't see it then. I thought he was patient. Understanding. Healing. But trauma makes manipulation look like compassion. And manipulators know that better than anyone. The day I realized the truth was the day he said something G had only ever told him once in a moment of complete vulnerability, something so personal he had never said it out loud before. He repeated it back to me word for word in the exact tone I had whispered it in months ago. Not to comfort me. Not to hold me, but to win an argument. That was the moment my stomach dropped, the moment my hands began to shake. The moment I realized it wasn't using my trauma to love me. He was using it to control me. And when I finally tried to pull away, when I finally tried to breathe without him, I learned the darkest truth of all. People like him don't fear losing you. They fear losing their power over you. And I was no longer the woman he loved. I was the woman he needed to keep small, so he could keep feeling big. This isn't the story of a Heartbreak. It's the story of how someone took the pieces of my past and built a prison out of them and called it love. I wish I could tell you that the moment I realized what he was doing, I walked away. I wish I could tell you that awareness was enough. But that's the cruel thing about manipulation. By the time you understand what's happening, you're already too deep inside the version of yourself they've shaped for you. After that night, I didn't confront him. I didn't scream. I didn't demand explanations. I stayed quiet, not because I was afraid of him, but because I was afraid of the truth. If he wasn't the man who made me feel safe, then who was he? And who was I without the version of myself convinced me to be? He came over the next morning acting as if nothing happened. He made coffee the way I liked it, played the playlist we always listened to on slow mornings, and sat beside me like my silence meant comfort, not confusion. But I kept replaying his words in my mind, those same words I told him months ago. The ones he used like a weapon, the ones he shouldn't have remembered unless he intended to. He watched me carefully, a little too carefully, like someone monitoring an experiment. Are you okay? He finally asked. I nodded, but he tilted his head, studying my face, and gave the soft smile that used to calm me. You're thinking again, aren't you? He whispered. The way he said thinking made me feel like it was a mistake, like my quiet moments. The moments he used to respect were now something he needed to eliminate. He touched my hand. Come here, he said, pulling me gently into his arms. It should have comforted me. It used to, but this time, his arms felt like walls. He held me a little too tightly, like he was afraid of losing his grip. His breathing was steady, but not soft. It matched mine every inhale, every exhale, as if he was sensing himself to my rhythm. He always did that. He always matched my breathing. Hen. I cried or panicked or froze. Back then I thought it was empathy. Now I wondered if it was practice. He whispered into my hair. Don't drift away from me. I'm right here. And I realized something chilling. He wasn't reassuring me. He was warning me. That day I tried creating little distance. I took longer to reply to his messages. I went to sleep earlier. I didn't tell him every detail of my day. And that's when he changed. The first silence came unexpectedly, not a long silence, just enough to unsettle my heartbeat. I didn't text immediately. I waited. I tried to breathe through the anxiety had trained into me. But after an hour, my chest tightened. That's when he finally messaged, "Are you ignoring me?" I stared at the words. The simple sentence felt heavier than any yelling could have been. I typed, "I'm just tired." He didn't reply. That silence lasted for more hours, long enough for panic to crawl back under my skin, long enough for fear to whisper that I'd done something wrong, long enough to make me feel like I was losing someone who used to feel like home. Except he wasn't home. He was the illusion of one. When he finally called, his voice wasn't angry, it was disappointed. "You don't shut me out," he said quietly. I thought we were past that. Past what? Past me having space. Past me thinking for myself. But the worst part wasn't him. It was me. I apologized for doing nothing wrong, for breathing differently, for needing a moment. He exhaled softly, almost lovingly. "That's better," he whispered. "I just need you to stay connected to me." You know why? I didn't know why. Because he taught me to fear his silence more than his presence. Over the next few days, things shifted even more. He started finishing my sentences. If I wasn't speaking fast enough, he corrected my memoriases. If mine were less accurate than his, he questioned my reactions as if he understood my emotions more intimately than I did. And the scariest part, sometimes he was right. Because he learned my triggers, my anxieties, my wounds, and stored them with perfect precision. He began predicting my fears before I even felt them. He anticipated when my voice would tremble, when my throat would tighten, when my hands would shake. He once said, "I know you better than you know yourself." It sounded romantic the first time, horrifying the second, terrifying the third. The night everything escalated. I told him I needed space. Just space. Nothing dramatic. Nothing final. Just a little distant shadow. Hear my own thoughts without his voice blending into them. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He didn't react. He just said, "Okay, if that's what you want." I felt relief, short-lived, fragile relief. But later that night, when I reached for my phone, it buzzed. A message from him. "You only need space when you're scared." Who scared you? Me or yourself? My hands went cold. He followed it with another. "Don't forget, I know every version of you, even the ones you hide from yourself." That's when it hit me. He was no longer mirroring my past trauma. He was becoming it, refining it, sharpening it into a weapon he could use anytime he felt me slipping. I closed my eyes and let the truth settle into my bones. He didn't use my trauma to understand me. He used it to build a cage that only he knew how to lock and unlock. And the worst part? I wasn't sure if the version of me inside that caused you is even capable of leaving anymore. The night I decided to leave him didn't begin like a decision. It began like a quiet ache, the kind that grows slowly, silently, filling the spaces between your ribs until you can't pretend you don't feel it anymore. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, knees pulled to my chest, lights off, phone screen glowing against the darkness. His messages kept coming, one after another, each more suffocating than the last. "You're slipping. Talk to me. I know what you're thinking. Don't pull away. You're safer with me. Safer." That word used to make me feel warm. Now it made my skin crawl. At some point, my hands started shaking. Not from fear of him, but from fear of who I had become with him. Someone who apologized for breathing wrong. Someone who panicked at silence. Someone who needed permission to feel. Someone who didn't trust her own thoughts if they didn't match his. Someone I didn't recognize. I turned my phone face down. For the first time in months, I chose not to answer. The quiet that followed didn't feel threatening like it used to. It felt real, like a moment that belonged to me, not to the version of me he tried to sculpt. But that peace didn't last. At 1:47 a.m., my phone buzzed once, just once, a sound sharp and not a slice through the thin layer of calm he had wrapped around myself. I looked at the screen. One message, not from him, from an unknown number. It said, "He's coming." My heart dropped before I could even blink. Another message followed. "He knows you're pulling away." I sat frozen, the world around me shrinking to the glow of that screen. Then the third message came. He did the same thing to me. My breath caught. My throat tightened. I typed with trembling fingers, "Who are you?" The reply came almost immediately. "The woman before you." I felt the blood drain from my face. Before I could respond, my phone lit up again this time with his name, a call dot, not a message. A call dot, the ring echoed through the room like a warning. I didn't pick up. I couldn't dot, my heartbeat was too loud dot, my lungs too tight. He called. Again dot and again dot and again. 6 times. On the 7th, he left a voice message. I stared at the notification, unable to move. After a full minute, I pressed play. His voice came through the speaker to calm, to steady, to rehearsed. I know you're awake. My stomach twisted. I can feel you pulling back. I can hear it in your silence. He paused. A long, slow inhale. You don't get to leave me with unfinished pieces. You don't get to start a healing you can't complete. My eyes filled with tears. This isn't abandonment, he whispered. This is cruelty. Then his voice changed soft, trembling, almost childlike. Don't make me become the part of you you're most afraid of. I covered my mouth with my hand, holding back a sob. He wasn't begging. He wasn't angry. He was warning Matt that the parts of myself he hated the most were now weapons in his hands. I deleted the voice message, blocked his number dot, turned off my phone dot. It didn't matter dot. The next morning, he showed up dot, not at my door dot, not outside my building dot, in the cafe where I always went every Saturday morning dot. The one place he knew I felt safe. He sat across from me as if nothing had happened dot, as if he hadn't called 7 times dot, as if he hadn't left a message that carved itself into my bones. He smiled softly. Good morning. I stared at him. Silent, he leaned forward. You're scared. A statement dot, not a question. I swallowed hard. Please leave. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't flinch. I can't leave, he whispered. You know that. I shook my head. You're hurting me. That finally made him react. Not with guilt dot, not with sadness dot, with confusion dot, as if he couldn't understand how something he built with such precision cold suddenly stopped working. He lowered his voice. You need me. The way he said it made my chest tighten dot, but for the first time, I looked at him and saw not the man he thought I loved, but the man who taught me to fear myself. No, I whispered. You need me. He froze. The smallest crack appeared in his expression of fracture in the performance. I stood up. Goodbye. He didn't follow. He didn't speak. He just watched me leave, eyes hollow, as if the version of me he created was slipping through his fingers. 4 weeks after, I slept with my phone off, ignored unknown numbers, avoided familiar streets. The world felt different, not safer. But mine. One night, I received a final message from the same unknown woman. You're not the first. You won't be the last. But you're the one who walked away. I stared at those words for a long time. Then I whispered to myself, he used my trauma to control me, but he doesn't get to use my healing. And that was the moment he realized something powerful. He never loved me. He loved a version of method he crafted from the pieces of my past. And once I stopped letting him shape the broken parts of me, he had nothing left to control.